Hi there, welcome back. How are you doing? Okay, so in the last part, a lot of things got built. There's a lot of stuff done, and now, obviously, I've got to continue from that. I need to create a fairly simple piece that's going to go in here. So, I'm going to go up to this bit, and I want to... Really, I should have kind of done this before, but you know what? It's all too easy to kind of say, oh, I wish I'd done something before. Now what I need is just this bit, so I'm going to deselect all the other bits like this until I've literally just got this bit in the middle. Zoom in, and I haven't got my key display on. Hang on. Okay, my key press is now on, which is cool, so I'm just going to hold shift and drag out. As you can see, I've got too much stuff, but that's okay. Let's clone it to an object. And then with my object selected, I'm going to, well, I'll not dick around with the pivot just yet. I'll just start trimming it first. Okay, just get rid of the bits that I don't need. So, for example, I don't need that. I really don't need that. And over here, I don't need those. Okay, now for height, I don't need the full height either. I'm going to take off that and that. Okay, good base shape here. Kind of happy with it. So now I'm going to effect pivot only, center to object, effect pivot only off. And I'm working in the forge earlier, so I've got little bits of metal all over my arms. Okay, now what I can do is just take this into here, and I need to scale it in just a little bit. So just use my scale tool, just take it a little bit, there we are. And then if I go over here, now I can't select by cap because that'll select all of it. I think I should be able to select by edge though if I just double click. There we go. And then I can just bring that down to about there. Now I've got too many edges in this, so I shall get rid of a couple of them. So I'm going to get rid of that one and that one. And this will allow me just to reshape this, and the good thing is that I know that it will kind of fit inside it as well. So control backspace, and as you can see I'm just kind of really refining my edges a bit, just cleaning them down. There we go. So in the end I'm going to get a much smoother shape. There, that'll do. And I think I'm going to probably put some symmetry onto this just for the moment. There we go, just in there. So I'll take that off, and that'll just give me the opportunity to kind of straighten this out a little bit. Now I need rid of this edge here, so control backspace, and I'm going to bring these vertices here forward. Okay, because I like the idea that it's kind of looming forward and leaning forward over this. So just take your time. Feel more comfortable doing it in just left viewport rather than doing it in the scary old, you know, front view, perspective viewport, then just go ahead. Okay, I mean it's all down to what makes you feel comfortable as an artist. So if I just go to my left viewport and zoom, you can see I can just start to smooth these shapes a little bit. This will give us eventually, pardon me, the cowling for the head, you see. So I'm just slowly bringing these over. And finally this one. Okay, now let's see how that looks in perspective. So zoom, because we don't want it too pointy and we don't want it too shallow. Okay, both of those are kind of useless to us. Right, now at the back here, where this set of edges is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make that flat, and I'm going to bring it out by holding shift just a little bit, and then I'm just going to bring these down just a teeny bit as well. So bring that down about there. Okay, so we get that kind of shape. And then with this one, I just double click it and drag it forward, Reason being, I can now chamfer it, and that'll just smooth the shape a little bit, like that. A couple of chamfers. There we go. Okay, so a nice smooth kind of armour on there. Okay, I'm going to wait for autosave. Yesterday, you may remember, well, it wouldn't be yesterday for you, it'll be whenever you watch the last part. I was somewhat manic when I was working. Been putting in some long nights working on this set. Really long nights. Right then. Now I need to taper this a little bit. There's a couple of ways I can do this, but to be honest, I think I'm just going to use an FFD for 2x2. Actually a 3x3, because I just really want the front part of this tapered. Now, we can't see the FFD on this, so convert to editable poly. Let's do it again. Now I can see it. So just open it up. And I'm going to start by grabbing these. And I don't need to push them in a long way, so just be wary of that. We're not crunching it, we're just making it a bit smaller. There we go, so now it cowls a bit. And once I have applied a slight level of turbo smooth to it, I'm probably going to do that again as well. But first, bring it in. Okay, so we've got this cowling comes in under this lip, like that, and just make sure that it's not intersecting anything. And then from this, I'm going to stick on my symmetry, yoink all the way down to there. And then from my symmetry, I'm going to stick on a shell, so I press S for shell. Because I can stack these up, that's why it's called a modifier stack. A lot of the time I choose not to, but it is a modifier stack. Now if I just work out how thick I want it, and I think 5 is going to be enough, like so, you see. So that's pretty cool. And then right click, convert to editable poly. And I'm just going to add a little bit more evenness to our verts, so I'm just stick one there and one there. Okay, so now our polygons are slightly better distributed. Next, with this selected, I can't turbo smooth yet because I will lose a lot of the definition. Now, if you remember, an easy way for doing a chamfer around the inside edge is just to go in here, and then I can just select my loop. Okay, now notice it's gone underneath and it'll be around the back and all that kind of cool stuff. So I can just do a quick inset, a very small one, and I'll just bring down the level of my inset just a little bit. Okay, because the narrower it is, the sharper it is. Click. Now I'll use a swift loop here, and I'll come out of my modelling by polygon just to do this. Now if I leave it further from the edge, I'll get a looser, slightly more curved edge, so I'm going to do that. Just make this little box here and here and here. And the important thing is I didn't take the polygons off the back, so there we go, I'll do that as well. Okay. Now, if I just select my polygon here, and I'm just doing that to make sure my faces are not inverse, otherwise I'd have to flip my normals. Okay, now I'm going to do another turbo smooth and just stick on top of this. And my turbo smooth, as you can see, if I just hit F4, doesn't look too bad, but the shape's kind of boring. I'm going to need to work on it a bit more, so I'm going to convert to editable poly. I've only got one iteration on. You notice I didn't have isoline turned on. If I had isoline turned on, I would have needed to turn it off, otherwise it would ruin my model. And a 3x3x3. I'm going to click there, just open it up. Now I can get this one, and this one. I'm just going to use my move tool. Bring that down to there. Now, I get my move tool here, because I like the idea of having a bit of a hunch like that. And then on the front, so I'm just going to grab these middle ones. I'm going to bring these down a bit. Okay. Now at the sides, I think I'm going to want to pull this out a bit, but before I do, I'm going to convert it to an editable polygon. And stick on FFD again. Okay, so I collapsed my FFD and now brought it back out again. Because remember, a lot of this is all about kind of making sure that our model fits together. We don't want parts in it to look like they're just being cobbled in, if you know what I mean. Okay, actually, rather than a 3x3, I think a 4x4 is probably going to be more appropriate. I very rarely use box or those kinds, but you know, right. So I'm going to, oops, wrong one. Let's make sure I didn't move that. There we go. I'm going to select my FFD 4x4, go in here, and let's do that. Just a little bit. I don't need a lot, just a little bit of movement on it. And hit F4 again. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now, what I could do as well is I can take a second copy of this, and I can basically move my second copy out a little bit. Now, a lot of this is down to how many polygons are in this piece, but oops, wrong button. Zoom out a bit. What I can do, and I'm thinking I'm not sure yet, I might just rebuild it completely if necessary, is I can just start to scale this and bring it into here. Now the problem we've got with this is we don't want it to look too much like it's just that bit, and that's where FFDs come in really, really handy. So if I move this to kind of the piece that I wanted out, which will be there, right click and convert to editable polygon, and then if I go over to here and just reset the X form, right click, convert to editable poly, and then I can drop down to an FFD. And in this one, 3x3 is going to be enough, left viewpoint zoom, because we can see kind of where we want it to fit. So we're just going to use the FFD to kind of force it to fit into where we want, while at the same time changing the underlying geometry enough that the eyes of the person looking at this are kind of brought to the conclusion that, oh, it's a completely different model, you know, which is what we want. Okay, so this way we're kind of maintaining the curve of the model, and because we put in enough geometry we should be okay. Perspective zoom, I'm just going to hit F3. So I'm just going to make sure that the various parts in it kind of fit. They certainly seem to. Bring it wide a little bit. Remember, it's really important that you collapse your stack. Okay, convert to editable polygon and zoom in. Okay, that works. We now have room for the kind of head unit that's going to go in under this. And if we want to be especially wily, what we could do is we could probably take this piece and just turn it upside down, making sure we've got angle snap on. I've always been very much for reusing parts, because that's kind of how the design process works. You know, you should reuse parts as frequently as possible. Car manufacturers do, boat manufacturers do, aeroplane manufacturers do. Okay, I mean, they're not going to do it, well, they do it to the point where it becomes unsafe sometimes, but that's kind of not the point. Okay, so now we have a kind of a space for our head unit to be coming out of, and it all seems to fit, which is kind of cool. Now the only thing I'm going to do that's different with this one is I'm going to apply an FFD to it. Just a 2x2 should be enough, because I just need to pull the two top parts just there and bring them back. There we go. And that was it. Right click, convert to editable polygon. Alright, that's looking okay, so that makes me filled with the glads. Next, then, I have to cut some shapes into the top part, because we can't start detailing the top part until it has some shapes cut into it. So, go up here, and I'm just going to really look for the areas that I want to start cutting holes into and just determine how I'm going to do it. So, easiest way to do it is just use the edge tool, and we can kind of work out roughly where our flaps are going to be, or whatever the hell it is that we're doing. Because we like the idea, or I like the idea rather, of being able to go, oh look, that is where the flap for this comes from. You know, this thing here obviously has some sort of a manufacturer built flap, so you can access whatever's underneath it. You know, because presumably they might want to take all the armour off if they're, you know, doing a small mine repair or whatever the heck it is they do with these things. Okay, so I am going to just extrude these. Now, the extrude tool is massively useful for this, and stop that naughty 3D Palace dog. So, what I'm going to do is extrude this down. Just do a little negative amount. Be careful, you don't want it to go through itself, so maybe -3 will be enough. That's nice and deep, you see. And then the width, well, that's kind of wide, so bring that in. We still need the width, you see, but we don't want too much of it. And click tick. Now I'm going to just chamfer the edge that was selected there. I can chamfer it up a fair bit, to be honest, so there we go. I'll just do that. So we've got this rather nice wide little panel here. Now, I've got those selected already, so I think what I'm going to do is just isolate my selection. That's not an isolate, that's an object property. Isolate. Corpentalis multipass. Things I talk about when I've a long day. So I'll just double click in these and basically building up our loops on the inside. Now, when we're doing this, important thing to do, especially because there's a good chance that I'm gonna come on in and, you know, turbo smooth later, I need these edges, all of them, every single one. They're all important. So I'm going to go down here. And around. Now if nothing happens when I click, I just do it again and again until I'm fairly sure it's going to work. And if I'm having problems with zooming, I zoom extents, and then when I zoom in, it makes my job a teeny bit easier. And it is worth, so much worth, going around your model and just checking it. Make sure you got all the bits you need doing. And then I'm going to do a little chamfer. So obviously you can see that one's too big. That one's good though. And click, tick. Okay, so now that's given us that rounded edge there for this panel, which is kind of cool. So what I can do over here now is like maybe just raise a bit, just a teeny amount. So the only thing we've got with this is these shapes are kind of uneven. Okay, got to be really careful with these uneven shapes. But again, we can get around that problem by, if I was to do a cylinder on an auto grid, I can pull it out like that and like that, and let's have a look at it, and you can see it's completely non-flush with the bottom because it's not a completely straight bloody polygon, unfortunately. This one's going to be a problem, isn't it? Sometimes this works and sometimes it's like that. It's because the actual polygon itself is slightly distended or deformed. So I think if I'm going to do this, I'm probably going to have to do it via the what do you call it, placement tool system, which suits me fine, to be honest, because I like the placement tool system. Okay, so I put that in there. Now I'm going to go over here and I want to select my edge, just this end. Okay, I don't have edge selected. This edge here, and I'm going to ring it. Now you can see my ring's gone kind of all the way around and down to there, which is kind of good, but I've got this terrible suspicion I might be getting a bit of a Mobius thing going on here. Yeah, look, it's got all these teeny little ones here which aren't any use to us. Now if I was to instead ring this one, let's see what we get. Yeah, unfortunately it looks like this is one of those cases where I'm going to have to do it manually, but that's okay. Front the zoom, not you, you, and take away half my model. It can sometimes get frustrating as a tutor, let alone as an artist, because sometimes you look at things and you think, ah, this is the easy way it should be doing it, and the tools don't quite do it. You know, sometimes it happens, it's just the way it goes. And there are various solutions to that. You can write scripts for it, or, you know, you can just suck it up and do it the long way. It's entirely up to you. I'm kind of torn between wanting to do this the long way and wanting to just use the placement tool system, because this is a nice armour and I'm reluctant to ruin it specifically. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build just on this edge here. So I don't think I can loop that. I'll give it a go, don't get me wrong, but I don't think I can loop it. Come on, you can do this. Wait for autosave. Right, it's done that now, so. Okay, so we've looped kind of everywhere, which isn't necessarily what I wanted. I just wanted the top ones, you see. So I think I'll just do this manually. In fact, doing this manually is a good idea, because I'll only get the bits that I want. We already have an edge going down the side here anyway, so let's go all the way around, because we're going to basically start kind of throwing on a lot of extraneous, what I call pointless detail. You know, it's stuff that's there purely for decorative means. Until now, we've been keeping things kind of within the realms of, you know, for a reason. Everything has had a reason, and I really want to move away from that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably extract this, and I think I'll probably do the same with the middle one in just a moment as well. So detach, and I'm going to detach it as a clone. Okay, so now I have this cloned piece here, and I'm keeping the pivot the way it was, if I can ever get it back. So annoying trying to find things. I think I'm going to need my list. There it is. And it's not there, is it? Unhide all. I saw it nearly, hang on. There it is. So I need that, and I'm going to bring it out. No! Okay, now I'm going to select this and this, and hide unselected. Okay, so we've just got these bits. So I know this is the correct piece. Now, if I go over here and just select all my polygons, and what I'm going to do is just extrude those. I'm going to extrude them by local normal. Now, as you can see, the local normal is doing some stuff. Whether we approve of what it's doing or not, I can't tell. I need to bring it down a little bit first, because I know it's going to twist. So I'm going to align this back to here, and let's look at the shape it's given us. Yeah, that's pretty cool actually, that's not bad. Okay, so now what I can do is look at this shape and probably I'm just going to come up and maybe grab a couple of bits on this. Actually, no, if I do that, it's going to look like a weird police thing. I don't think I'm going to do it that way, but I think what I can do, maybe grab a few of these pieces, because I like the idea of it being slightly uneven, so we get a thicker shape coming up, if I can grab it by the right handle anyway. So grab that, and then I will shrink my selection. Not that much, that was silly, come on. Oh, I'm using the round select tool, I hate the round select tool. I'm sure there are occasions when people legitimately want to use the round select tool. I've never really needed to use it myself in quite a long time. But like I say, some people probably use it all the time. They probably go to bed at night, you know, thanking the magic fairies who work at Autodesk for building such a wondrous tool, and fair play to them. Okay, so that worked quite nicely. We have this kind of thick edge going on, and now what I can do is obviously tighten the edge a little bit, so I'm going to use my swift loop. Down there, and then there, and then down here I'll obviously just protect my loop again by doing that. There's no underside to this, so I don't really need to be too concerned about that. I just want to make sure that we've got a good straight shape going on here for when I apply the turbo smooth. And now if I come out of that and just hit F4, lovely, we can see we've got this nice shape here which I'll be able to do some stuff from, and there's no particularly hard edges going on it either, which is a bonus. Now over here I'm going to apply my symmetry back onto this. So I've got some shapes, I may as well be using them. Right click, convert to editable polygon, that way it's all welded together. Now, a couple of things I need to remember really. If I stick a turbo smooth on this now, and just have a quick look, make sure there's no breaks in my model that I don't want, and there isn't, so that's cool. Get rid of that. You'll notice it becomes a much harsher looking shape when I haven't got that on. Now, I want to select these polygons here. Okay, because I like the idea that this is kind of a, it's almost like a rhino shape, you know, it's like this big, hard, strong kind of shape. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of going in and just selecting polygons that I can use, rather than having to kind of draw on top of the topology. This way I can come up with something that's kind of already a part of its topology, and so it's going to fit much nicer. I mean, I don't have any objection to building stuff on top of existing topology, don't get me wrong, I couldn't give a shit about doing that, but doing it this way, it conforms so nicely. Just let this do its thing, as it were. There we go. And don't worry, we're getting there. We're nearly done. Not from the entire tutorial, of course. I'm doing it to be silly. Okay, so with these ones, I mean, what I could do is I could just extrude them myself, or I can make them a separate part. If I make them a separate part, I get a much, much cleaner edge. So let's just attach them as a clone, and there, that's all there was to that. Now all I need to do is find it. There it is. There. Hello. Now I can select all these and extrude them by local normal and bring them down to about 3.5. See how that looks. It's looking pretty saucy, I think you'll agree. Okay, now another thing I can do is I can deselect these fellas. Because you know what? Why not? Okay, so let's deselect these. With these deselected, I think, I think, I've got to be careful here. Sometimes this works, sometimes this doesn't work. Okay, so, you know, you and me, we're going down the same road of adventure here. I'm just going to use the push modifier. Yeah, the push modifier, as you can see, is a little bit flippin' flaky, which is a problem. to a degree, but actually not as much of a problem as you may think. Let's stick on an edit poly. Because the good thing about doing this is it means I can go back. If this doesn't work, I can just go back to the start of my stack again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select these edges here. Because at the minute, you see, it's gone from looking like a cool, straight, funky shape to looking a bit like a Bossk lizard. Anyone who's had a Bossk lizard will know what I mean. It's like got this weird fat bulgy parts going on, man. Don't get me wrong, I love Bossk lizards. I don't have a Bossk lizard, but I do like them. I would have liked one, but you know, I've got a house full of cats. And when Bossk lizards are small, cats will eat them. When the Bossk lizards are big, they'll eat the cats. Right. Done this before, you kind of know how it's done. Just grab that and straighten it. Because we can, you see, works nicely. Now we've got some overlap going on over there, but that's okay. So if I go back to select by polygon, bring that in like that. And what a lovely shape we start to get, do you not agree? Yes, we all agree with everything you ever said. Good, because you should. Now grab this. That's the good thing you see about teaching people who aren't actually there. I can just say whatever the hell I want. And then at the back here, now got to be careful with the back because you get some weird hunchy little shapes here. I said it before, there's kind of areas you've got to be careful with. Just, it's like when you do the pelvis, you've got to be careful not to give your monster a cock. But these ones you've got to be careful to make it not look like it's having a little poo, you know. Alright, now let's have a look at some of these shapes we've got here. And I'm going to go to my left viewport and zoom because there's a lot of shapes here that we can round out and make it look better. Now we know it's symmetrical, so all I have to do is this. Just use your artist's eye, keep everything the right distance. It'll look golden, I promise. Okay, and we're getting so close now to being able to, you know, stick the arms on this fella. Quite nice. On my second monitor, I've got the sound turned off so you wouldn't know, but I've got Penn and Teller's Fool Us going on the other monitor. And the urge, every so often I look across and it's like, for God's sakes, it's another card force, can nobody see that? And it gets quite amusing. Kids hate it when I do that. I kind of sit and have a beer and start shouting at the TV about how the magic tricks are done. There we go. So that should be all we need there. Perspective and zoom. Now, I think you'll agree that is a nice shape. Once I apply Mesh Smooth to it, it's going to be an even nicer shape. So we can see how it's going to look by making a reference just directly above it. And I'm going to stick a Turbo Smooth on there. Okay, so now everything I do to this will in turn happen to that. In fact, I'll probably stick 2 iterations of Turbo Smooth on it, just because I'm hardcore. Okay, so in Edit Poly mode, for this I've got Swift Loop, and what I want to do with this is start going into the bottom there, and then just start refining my edges. So the front, then here, and here, and I'm trying to keep everything kind of the same way, you know. Now for these, I'm going to make these slightly rounded because I like the idea of them being slightly rounded. So I'll just let autosave again do its thing. I know that autosave is taking up a good like 0.5% of the entire tutorial time, but pausing during it can lead to problems. Firstly, you know, there has been times in the past I've forgotten to turn autosave off. Not autosave, the recording unit back on. And it leads to complications. There's so many tutorials I've done. 'Cause truth be told, I mean, I know I seem like this kind of Asperger's monster when it comes to recording this kind of tutorial, but I do forget things a lot. I forget stuff like, you know, in the past, forgetting that the microphone wasn't turned on used to be a massive bugbear of mine. So now I'm really neurotic about making sure the microphone's turned on. has to be. And so every day before I record, I'll do like a small recording test segment just to be on the safe side. Okay, now I do one here and here, and I'm just going to go down the line. I don't need to make these too tight, just as long as it looks like these things are, you know, getting their straight edges. That's what matters. I know we've got a heavy density of polygons going on here. Don't let that freak out. Since when to us has the polygon cam mattered? Back when I first started doing tutorials for 3ds Max, I probably said that in this tutorial before, but you know, it used to be that people were of the opinion 3ds Max couldn't manage heavy polygon loads. They were like, oh no, there's no way it could do it. When I first did the APU, for example, which is only about, what, 300,000 polygons for the basic one I did, my one, it was okay, but it wasn't anything spectacular. And people were like, wow, Max can never do that many. It had been considered like a tool for doing stuff in games, doing low detail stuff in archvies. And it was kind of me that said, oh yeah, you know, we can use it for this. And did. So, turn that off. That's looking nice, that. Get rid of that. So, I kind of went on and did the Ultimax, and that one was 3 million polygons, I think it was, or 5 million polygons. And the whole aim of the tutorial was basically to push Max to see if it'd explode or not. And I mean, my god, I was only using a Pentium dual-core 3.16 processor. And I mean, you could probably see steam coming out the back of it. It was terrifying. But it was fun. It was fun to do, and it proved that it could be done. Right, I'm going to go to Turbo Smooth. And, you know, I enjoyed the process. There's not many people done Ultimax, to be fair, because it's bloody hard. But it was one of those ones I really enjoyed. Right then, now I think we got, yep, quite a shed load of stuff on that, so I am going to do a mirror and copy. Okay, so that goes over to there. Now, let's stick in a cubic shed load more polygons by doing Turbo Smooth, and on this one, Turbo Smooth. There we go. And now we can attach these together if you so desire. It's not a bad idea simply because otherwise, like, we might forget when it comes to rigging time. And just make sure you don't have isoline display selected, because collapsing it with isoline display on can be a nuisance. And then just attach, and attach. Right click. And I don't need to convert it to editable poly. I do normally anyway, just, you know, unhide all. And zoom out. Okay, and you can see now what a difference that has made. We have these nice kind of sides going in, we have the detail on our top armour coming in place. That's only our first point of detail as well. So by the time we go in and do the next piece, in the next tutorial, I think you're going to see some major kind of pop with that fella there. Okay, so hopefully you found that interesting and informative. If you do, please tell your friends to get this set. And I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.